Hello, this is the computer programming course, and we are going to continue our lesson about array. In the previous video, we already learned about this problem about creating multiple choice tests. And we already see the example about create exam in the Eclipse. How can we match the answer from the student with the key to the questions? And we can count about the number of correct answers of the student. Okay, so let's go to the next problem. In this problem, we are going to find 2 points nearest to each other. So with this kind of problem, you can have the the x-axis, this one, and we have the y-axis, this one. And you have the value x, you have the value y, and let's suppose we have the point 0. So the point 0 is x equals to -1, and then y equals to 3. Okay, so this one is the index 0. And then we have the index 1, it is 1, -1 is for the x, and then -1 for the y. Then I guess this one is the index 1, and then index 2 is 1 comma 1. So I guess this is the index 2, and so on. Okay, so we have those points as the data, and how can we find the nearest points? So the nearest points can be calculated by using the formula, this one, square root x2 minus x1, and then we put a square, and then plus y2 minus y1, and then do the square. So maybe this one will be summation first, and then the result will be the square root from those summation. Now let's find out how we can put it into the Java program. If you go to the Eclipse, there is one function, we call it the find. We are accessing the Java class find nearest point, and you can see this is a class, and this class has one method, one additional method, which is distance. And oh, you can see, right, there are 1 2 3 4, so there are 4 parameters. Okay, that's fine, there's no issue with the number of parameters. And let's take a look on this code. The first line is to access the scanner, and then you need to understand about the points first. So let's assume that this is the user input. You need to ask the user to input how many points do you want to insert. And then I make the points into 2 dimensions. Okay, the first dimension is the number of points. So it means you will have like what we already see. Okay, so we have the x and y. So this is the number of points. If we have like this one, then we have 4 points. Okay, so the index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3. So we have 4 points, and then 2. So it's the size of the column. So we have x and y. We fix with the number 2 because we only have 2 columns. Okay, on the x and y. And let's assume that the number of point is 4. Okay, we will maybe just reduce to 3 later. Okay, because 4 maybe it's you need to input many numbers. I will just put 3 later. And then enter the 3 points. So you need to enter one by one. This is the I and 0. So if I equals to 0, then we assume that the column X is the index 0 and the column Y is index 1. So the 0, 0, then you can input some values. 0, 1, you can input another values. So this one is the meaning for this representation. And then I want to find the shortest distance. Okay, what is the shortest distance here? So the shortest distance is to get the distance between 2 points. So the 2 points I want to initialize first, because without this initialization I do not know what is the shortest one. So I would like to calculate the shortest between P1 and P2. Okay. So P1 here is the index 0 and P2 is the index 1. So if I have the, again, this one, oh, I'm writing again, okay, we have X, Y. And then if I have, let's say I have 4, this is the point 0, this is the point 1, this is the point 3, this is point 2 and 3. So I want to find whether this point and this point is the shortest one. And I put the calculation into this value. Okay. At least I calculate and I put this into the initial value. And I would like to search whether there is another point that might be shorter than this one. Okay. And let's see. We can do the loop. We can have the loop here. The loop is from the 0 until the length, and the j will start from I plus 1. So if I'm starting from 0, I don't need to start from 0. I need to start from plus 1. Okay. So I will do from, so it means I will check the 0 and 1, and then I will check 0 and 2, and then I will check 0 and 3. Okay. After I finish this one, then I will be added, and then it will start from 1. So 1 will be checked with 2, and then 1 will be checked with 3, and then it will be added. So the last one will be 2, and it will be checked with 3. So every possibility will be calculated, and if the shortest distance is higher than the distance, so this is the distance. Okay. So this is the distance. So if the distance is lower than the shortest distance, it means the new distance is the shortest one. Then let's change the P1 and the P2. So the original P1 is 0, the original P2 is 1. Now let's change the P1 into I and the P2 into J. And the shortest distance will be the new value of the distance. So we want to update the shortest distance. Okay. So by using this one, we will do the loop for every possibility from 0, 1, and 0, 2, and 0, 3, and 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, and 2, 3. And then finally, we have this one. The two closest 2 points are the P1 and P2, because we already update this P1 and P2. Okay. If you take a look on the result, let's just run this. Enter the number of points. Okay, let's say I have 4. Okay, and then enter 4 points. So we have maybe 1, 1, and then minus 1, 1, and then maybe 2,1, and then let's say 3,4. Okay, so the closest 2 points are 1,1 and 2,1. Yeah. Now it's difficult to verify this one, but if you want to check, then you can check later. And the formula of the distance will be like this one. So we have x1, we have y1, we have x2 and y2. The formula is, yeah, x2 minus x1 multiplied by x2 minus x1. So it's the same with the x2 minus x1, and then we put a square plus, y2 minus y1, and then we put it square. So if we multiply with that number, so it means square. Okay, and after we do the addition, we do the summation, then it will be the square root. Okay. And after you have this result, you can get the closest 2 points. Yeah, this is the point section. Of course, we have the multi-dimensional. You mentioned that, okay, what is the multi-dimensional? So in the multi-dimensional means it will represent it as n dimensional. N, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4, it can be 5, and so on. Okay. If it is more than 1, yeah, you can just two-dimensional array. It is still possible to imagine, and it's still imagine. It is still possible to show the result. But if it is already more than 3, then yeah, it will be more complex. Okay. So, for example, you want to know about the score, okay, the score of a particular. So you want to have the score for every items in the class and with regard to the student, for example. So, for example, you have the in our class we have assignment, and then we have the mid exam. Okay, so let's say I have two items here, and then I have the score. So the score for this assignment, I have assignment 1 and I have assignment 2. Okay, so I have assignment 1 and I have assignment 2. So yeah, this is another array. And then after I have this assignment 1 and I have assignment 2, I will calculate with this mid exam, and this is for one student. So we can create that kind of things with the three-dimensional array. Of course, it will be more complex. Okay. Or yeah, you can say something like this one. It is the scores. Okay. We have 10, 5, and 2. So the first dimension will have 10 size, and the second dimension will have 5, and the third dimension will have 2. Okay. So you can expand until 4 dimension. Of course, if it is 4 dimension, let's say if you use double, then you will have 4, 1, 2, and then 3, and then 4, like this one. And if you want to have 5, yeah, you can have 5 square brackets. Okay, I would like to explain to you one of the data structure in Java, which is Arraylist. If you are using array, you need to define the size. Okay? And if you are using Arraylist, is a Java collection, and if in this collection, um, you can easily utilize the existing framework from Java without without making a new method. So, for example, in Java collection frameworks, there are three types of collections: set, list, and maps. Yeah. And it is for the data structure. I will not discuss in details, But using this kind of array, we can utilize the array list. Okay? The array list means it is a class with resizable array. The resizable array means you want to have more data in your array. When you define the integer, for example, value, okay, and then you have the integer, and this is a new integer, for example, 10. So the size is fixed 10. You cannot resize, you cannot change the size. But when you use Arraylist, you can just add any values. It is flexible, resizable. You can change the size according to the number of your data. Okay. So first is you need to declare the array list. So this is the way to use the array list. You need to use the java.util.arraylist. If you are using the scanner, yeah, you can just call the scanner class. But for the array list, you need to call the array list. But basically it's the same. As long as you use the java.util.star, then it means you will extract all the classes from the java.utility. And then you need to define what kind of array list you want to use. So if you want to use string, yeah, you need to define string here. And then you need to define string, and then don't forget to put the bracket. If you want to define an integer, then you need to have the array list with the triangle bracket, and then you put integer here, and then close the section. We will see more example for this. And then if I use the string, for example, yeah, I can do adding the elements with a method add. Okay, add. So for example, I want to add a Volvo or verse about the cars. So cars, how can we get the cars here? Yeah, this is the name of the variable cars. So the array list, and I have the variable name cars. It is a new array list, and the data type will be string. Okay, so it means I would like to construct one variable cars, and I will like to add cars with one value Volvo. So once you create this method or this statement, it will be a sequence. Okay, the first sequence will be added into the index 0. The second statement will be added into the index 1. And the third one, it will be added into the index 2. And then the last one will be added into the index 3. Okay. And how can we access this one? You can just use get. So if you are accessing get 0 means you want to access the index 0, which is Volvo. If you want to change the item, you can just use set. If you want to set the index 0 with Opel, then it means you want to change the value Volvo. Okay, so the first value is Volvo, and now it will be changed to Opel. Okay, according to this one. If you want to remove the item, it means you want to delete. And 0 means this is the index. So you want to remove the index 0, then the index 0 will be deleted. If you want to clear, it means you will remove all the items. And there are some other methods in the release, for example, size. So the size is represent how many elements you have in your array list. In the array, you can also use length. Okay, length is the method to find how many items in your array. But because it is resizable, so the size is flexible. So the size, it will be depending the number of elements in your array. So you can just use dot size to represent the number of elements in the variable cars. And then you can do the loop. Okay, what is the loop? Of course, you need to loop of every elements. You can start from 0, it is the index from 0, and then you can go to the number of the size. So cars is the variable, and then you will get every value according to the index 0, according to the index I is starting from 0 until the number of the size. There is another way actually to access the data. We call it loop using for each loop. If we are using the for each loop, it means we are going to access the data. Let's say if it is a string, so you can define a string. So for string. So this is the data type. And then I want to access for every element in the cars. Okay. So cars is the variable. And then you can just print, okay, system.out.print I. If I print the I, it means I want to print for every item which is in the cars or in the variable of the array list. Okay, let's see the example. I gave two kind of example about the array list. First is the simple array list, and the other is simple array list with the integer value. So we have the simple array list here. So the simple array list, you can see, yeah, the sequence here. We use the array list, and then this array list statement is making a new variable cars, and then for every elements it will be added into the variable cars. So for example, Volvo, BMW, Ford, and Mazda. So we have 4 items, and then we have the for loop to access these elements. Okay. So we have from index 0 until the car size, and then I want to access this by using cars get.i. So get.i means .get_i means I want to access the index I. If you want to access with the short loop, yeah, I give you this one. So later we will try to do with this one. Now, if I want to set the element, or yeah, I want to modify. So the index 0 now, let's change to Opel. So you can use this one. If you want to remove the index 0, then you can use remove. Okay. So let's see. If I run this, what happened? Okay, we have Volvo, BMW, Ford, and Mazda. Okay. So I use this to print the element. So let's say after I modify the data, I would like to print again. So you can just delete this one. This is the comment. Okay. If you check this, yeah, actually you can just make this one string I from the variable cars, and then we want to print all the I. So I, it means the element. So if you run this, okay, maybe you cannot see the difference, so let's just make another separator here. Let me just print with the ln. Okay, that will be good. So okay, now you will see that the next is to print the element of cars, because we already set the Opel for the index 0. Now you can see Volvo has been changed to Opel. Okay, and we want to remove. Okay, if we want to remove, let's see what happened after we remove this one. Maybe this is the second example. I made 2. Okay, so to distinguish the separator. Okay, you remove the index 0, so Opel has been disappeared. There is no Opel in the data. Okay, if you want to remove all the elements, then you can just use the cars.clear. You can try with yourself. Okay. So the second example is simple array list integer. If you are using the string, okay, so you need to specify this one string. If you are using integer, then you need to specify this integer. So this integer value, integer, you can just put the number 10, 15, yeah, for example 20 and 25. And if you want to run for every of the element with the for loop, as I mentioned to you, we can just specify with the variable names, which is my numbers, and you specify what is the data type. Because it is integer, then I just use int I to represent, and I can get all the values in the array. And the result will be 10, 15, 20, 25 according to this input. Okay. Okay, I hope that you understand this array list, and it is more simple. Okay, it's more simple than the array actually. However, yeah, you can choose what you want to use, especially if you are doing with your team project later. You might choose whether you are going to use array or array list. And yeah, we already reached this final section about the array. So we learn about the passing array in the method, and we learn about the multidimensional array, and we learn about the array list. Now I have one question for the multidimensional array. Can you try to sum all the elements by row? What does it mean? So for example, I have this matrix. Okay, so I have 0, 1, 2, and then I have 0, 1, 2. So let's suppose I have this one at 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 5, and then let's say 3, 2, 2. Okay. I want to sum by the row. So 2 plus 1 plus 3. Then the result will be 6. 1 plus 4 plus 5, the result will be 10. And 3 plus 2 plus 2, the result will be 7. Okay. How can you do this one with Java? Okay, so I think you can prepare the solution. So I will give you the Quorum exercise for this one. So in the next Quorum exercise, you will see this problem, I guess. Okay, so I will continue the other section with other video. So please check the other video for the next section. Thank you very much.